It's Thursday morning, it's 9 a.m., and that's when we bring you Our Town each and every week here on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. My name is Darren Swenson, Our Town, as always, brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. Four guests on the program, and the conversation will take up pretty much the entire 9 o'clock hour this morning. A little later on in the program, we'll talk to Larry Berland. He is retiring after 47 years of coaching girls tennis to a very high level in the Decorah Community School District. We'll talk about his career and a lot of other things with Larry, and a fun conversation coming up later on. School's starting next week, and safety needs to be put to the forefront of everybody's mind. We'll talk to Winneshiek County Sheriff Dan Marx regarding that. Always a fun time this weekend in Protivin. It's going to be Czech Days this weekend. And we'll preview Czech Days with our good friend Don Koshatka. And we will kick off the program here in a couple of seconds. Start of the school year means the start of the fall activities related to the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department. And we'll kick off the show with Blake Moen from the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department. We'll do that right now. You are listening to Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. Always good to check in with the fine folks at the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department, and one of those fine folks is Blake Moen. And Blake, a lot of things going on with the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department. Of course, school starting next week, and that means the fall programs for Park and Rec starting in the not too distant future.
Yeah, absolutely, Darren. No, thanks for having us to talk a little bit about the Parks and Rec Department and some of the offerings we have coming up here in the fall. Our registration opened up on Monday, August 15th. And so starting Monday, August 15th, registration opened up for a variety of programs, including flag football for first through sixth graders, volleyball for third through sixth grade, as well as one of our after school programs called Game Plan, which is for first and second graders. All those registration opportunities are up on our website right now, as well as in our office. And we do have some other programs that are also listed within there for registration. And we're looking forward to a jam-packed fall to kick off school, but also our fall programs.
Tell us about Game Plan. I am not familiar with that for your first and second graders. What's that all entail?
Yeah, we did this program a few years ago and kind of picked it back up last year and returning for another year this year. Game Plan is an after-school program for first and second graders to play some of the non-traditional sport games that you can play. With Park and Rec, we offer Little League and basketball and flag football. This program is more on some of the more non-traditional ones like kickball or frisbee golf or some of the other ones that we have, freeze tag, some of the other PE related games that are fun to kind of play with. And like I said, it's for first and second graders and just a chance to be outside, enjoy the fall weather, and be outdoors.
And of course, online registration has become a thing, and I'd imagine that's available once again.
It is. Yep. Online registration is available once again for our fall programs. Again, you can do that online by creating an account that you can then use for future registrations, whether it's for the fall, summer, winter, spring. So you just create an account for you and your kiddos, for your spouse, whatever it may be, for signups. And then that can be used to make payments online as well. Some people still like to come to our office, and that is still an option for you as well. You're more than welcome to stop in and register here for any program as well. One other thing too, our fall program brochure and the list of all of our other offerings are on our website. So feel free to view that as a PDF and print off, or just view on your phone. Also, we have hard copies in our office as well for people to stop in and take a look at as well.
So you kind of have all the bases covered, digitally, hard copy, in person, online, whatever way you want to register or read about things, you got them covered, don't you?
We do. Yeah, we do. And, again, we try to keep things as updated as possible when it comes to Facebook. A lot of people ask us, what is the best way to get the quickest information, whether it's registration or cancellations or other announcements that may be coming from the department, without a doubt, the fastest way is our Facebook page, as well as on our website. We have multiple tabs for cancellations and registrations and so on. So without a doubt, we point people towards the Facebook route if they're looking for information in that quick information that way. But also don't be afraid to call. We always have someone in our office during office hours to take phone calls as well. One other program I'd like to bring up as well, Darren, as we kind of transition our fall, is our annual Touch a Truck program. Our Touch a Truck program is one of our great programs that we get a great turnout for every year. Seems like every year it seems to grow more and more in popularity for people being involved, as well as kiddos coming to the program. What Touch a Truck is that it is a program that is a free activity. You don't need to sign up. You just need to show up and come down to where the location is. This year, our Touch a Truck is Saturday, October 15th from 10 a.m. to noon. What that entails is in the back of City Hall, we have various different trucks from local businesses that are like construction equipment, city vehicles. Some local businesses have dump trucks and other vehicles that are there as well as police vehicles, firefighter vehicles, emergency vehicles, and so on. And essentially, they're all spread out around the back lot of City Hall, and kiddos are able to come on down and be able to view their favorite ones. A lot of people like to get tours of, say, the ambulance or the fire trucks or what have you. And there's always a rep at every vehicle that shows the kiddos around and be able to sit in and enjoy. So it's a lot of fun. It's in conjunction in a partnership with the Decorah Fire Department, but then also is in conjunction with Fire Prevention Week that week. And so not only is a free offering for you to come down and enjoy the trucks, but there's also a free hot dog lunch there as well for people to enjoy.
And we'll probably get you back on and discuss that event as time gets a little closer on October 15th. I know you're always prepared and meticulous and very detail-oriented when we have these conversations. So I feel silly asking this. Anything we're missing? I know the answer is no.
No, of course not, Darren. No, it got everything in line. But no, I think that things are in great shape. Like I said, registration just opened up, so feel free to go to our website, give us a call if you have any questions as well. One note I will say, with the coming of fall, we are wrapping up the pool season and the summer programs as well. So summer was great for us this year. We really appreciate all the volunteer coaches, all of our part-time staff, as well as everyone else that took for signing up to coaching, to leading camps, and so on and so forth. We feel like we had an awesome summer this summer, led by so many different people to make all of our camps in Little League and the pool happen this year. So we really greatly appreciate everyone for participating in said programs and being a part to help coach and make those happen, because a lot of those programs can happen without our volunteer help. So we greatly appreciate it.
Blake, always a pleasure catching up with you. Look forward to catching up with you in person here in a couple of weeks when the Luther football season gets underway. Thanks for the time, and thanks to you, Andy, Erica, and everybody at the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department for what they do and what they provide for the community.
Yeah, thank you, Darren. Appreciate you having us on to talk about it. Thank you again.
Blake Moen from the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department. Coming up this weekend in Protivin, it is the annual Czech Day celebration from the Holy Trinity Parish in Protivin. And with us to talk to us about Czech Days is my friend Don Koshatka. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Darren. How you doing?
Doing all right. Always good to talk about Czech Days and everything going on in Protivin. It's a 3-day event starting Friday night. Tell us what's going to kick off the festival come Friday night.
Friday night, we're going to kick it off at 6 o'clock. They're going to start serving food down at the community center. That's going to be in full force. They're going to start selling the kolaches, so that's always kind of a mad rush. The T-shirts, we had a real big run on them last year, and she's got a new design this year, and I think everybody's going to enjoy that. Like I said, it looks like I'm listening to the forecast. We might get a little dribbling on and off throughout the weekend. Keep in mind our celebration has big tents for our bands, and the ballpark has a shelter, and the games go unless we got lightning. We got to get the people off the field. With that, we got the softball tournament starting at 6 o'clock also. Fireman's water ball is going to be down at the city park. And Tim the Music Band is going to play while the people eat in the community center. So that's pretty much the games will go probably till pretty close to 12 o'clock. They try to get in, I don't know, 5, 6 games, starting at 6, an hour apiece. So that's always a lot of people at the ballpark that night to watch the opening of the guys and girls 5-on-5 softball tournament. So with that, that's going to probably wind up Friday.
And then Saturday, you get going bright and early at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, 8 o'clock they're going to have a volleyball tournament. That's in the back of the ballpark. And the softball tournament starts at 8:30. Big bag tournament, the same location. And at 9 o'clock, the antique tractor and car show will come in, and that'll be wind down from 9 to 3 p.m. up by the church in the alley, right there on the main back top there. The community band plays at 11:30 to 1. Kids inflatables are available from 12 to 5 up by the big tent. Bingo from 12 to 7:30. A cakewalk from 1 to 4. At 1 o'clock, Barefoot Becky and the Ivanhoe Dutchman come on, and they play till 5. So then we have 2 bands on Sunday, but this is just the afternoon band there. Czech Mass with the Czech choirs at 6 o'clock. Tim the Music Man plays at the community center. And Cody Hicks, I understand he's out of Montezuma, plays a lot with the Moen area, and he's a great cover for all the top country songs. So that pretty much, that's from 9 to 1, and that'll wrap up Saturday.
And then everybody will get a few hours of sleep, and you got more fun coming up on Sunday.
And there we go. We start off at 9 o'clock with the softball tournament. 10:30 is the polka mass with Jim Buster Band and Molly B. is always a big attraction, and that's in the church, and that's a polka mass. That's at 10:30 a.m. 12 to 6 bingo again. Kids pedal tractor, and the director told me to mention that they got somebody donated some extra trophies, so there's 3 trophies for the little guys and girls in the pedal tractor division. We got a cakewalk again to 1 for 4. Then at 3, we're going to have Jim Buster Band with Molly B in the main tent. That's probably our big attraction there in the main tent. On Sunday is 12:30 to 2:30. Normally she plays all afternoon, but we're going to have another band play. The Malik Fisherman Band will come on at 3 and play till 6, and we wrap it up at 6:30 with the quilt raffle and the auction. And that also has all the raffles are given away from the raffle books that are sold throughout the festival and earlier. So that wraps it up. That's Sunday's activities, Darren.
And of course, food, a big part of Czech Days year in and year out. And the community center going to be open all day, or Friday evening, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday, it looks like.
Yeah, I'll give you that schedule here. Friday, it's going to be 5 to 8 in the community center. There's also the brat stands out and food, the steak sandwiches, brats and pork sandwiches at the ballpark and in other locations like the community center. Now, at 10:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. is Sunday. 10:30 to 8. And Saturday, 10:30 to 8. And Sunday, 10:30 to 5. And that menu is homemade chicken noodle soup, homemade kolaches, homemade roliki, homemade cream chicken, barbecue pork sandwiches, ribeye sandwiches, bratwurst, dessert, and some other extras. So that's pretty much the food schedule.
And of course,
anything else you can think of, Barry?
And of course, there's sponsors, there's volunteers, there's a lot of people that make it happen all weekend long in Protivin too. You got to give a big thank you to those folks, I'd imagine.
Yeah, our band sponsors, we just found the bands throughout the years got more expensive. If we wanted quality, we do not charge. Keep in mind, people, this is a free festival. None of the bands are charged for, and with that, we have to have sponsorship. So our sponsors are The Place, Arts Milling Service, Farmers Mill, Koshatka Farm Equipment, Cresco Bank and Trust, CUSB Bank, in Cresco and Citizen Savings Bank in Protivin, Iowa. That's our sponsors, and they pretty much take care of the band. So for our festival to be successful, that's just about what we have to have, and that really helps. I've been working on that for years, and it's just something, the first time we go around and ask it, it's kind of a little bit of a commitment, but nobody objects to it, and we actually have sponsors that want to belong, and we're always, they're always welcome.
And that's all part of living in a small town Iowa. You usually get people to step up and make sure these events go in the right direction, don't you? Yes, absolutely. And if it wasn't for all that, it's hard to pull off. And all the people of the parish and other people that help with Czech Days make it a very successful festival. And we're all proud of them, and a big shout out to all of them people. All right, Donnie, give us one final commercial on why folks should head to Protivin this weekend. Well, I'll tell you what. We got the tents, we got the music, we got the food. All we need is people. Yeah, simply put. Well put, might I add. Donnie, appreciate you taking some time to talk about Czech Days this weekend. You mentioned you might get a little rain from time to time, but even if it's raining, the sun always shines in Protivin, Iowa. Thanks for the time, my friend. You bet, Darren. Thank you. Don Koshatka talking about Czech Days Friday through Sunday in Protivin. Having a conversation this morning with Winneshiek County Sheriff Dan Marx. Coming up next Tuesday is the start of the 2022-2023 school year already. And with the start of the school year, it's a good time to review some back-to-school reminders related to safety. You got a lot of kids that are going to be out and about and more active, at least at certain times in the day when it comes to public transportation. And Dan, what are some of the things that we just need to be reminded of? It's probably always in the back of our minds, but when school starts next week, it needs to get to the front of our minds.
Yeah, we're going to see kids out and about more than we ever have. And not that kids aren't out and about in the summer as well. So I'm careful with that. I know in the summertime, in certain areas, it could probably be argued there's more kids out in the summer than there is in the school year. But certainly at the beginning part of the day and the end of the day, we're going to see more foot traffic. We're going to see young drivers on the road in all at the same time periods and in one time frame. And, kind of the obvious, we're going to see school buses out and about. And the biggest thing that I would say, without getting too crazy with all this, the simplest thing you can do is pay attention, stay off your phones and devices, and slow down. If we do those three things, we can prevent most bad things that could happen. These school buses are hauling precious cargo. A lot of the cars in private vehicles on the road are hauling precious cargo. And there's kids that are excited that might be their first day of school or might just be excited to get back to school. There's a lot of emotions that go with school starting. And, they're not necessarily going to look out for you. So we would politely ask that you look out for them.
And related to school buses, obviously they make a lot of stops picking up kids in the rural areas, sometimes in the city areas themselves. And if a school bus is stopped, you have to stop behind it. And I know about a decade, maybe perhaps a little longer ago, this penalty for passing a stopped school bus in the state of Iowa is pretty severe. And if you're going to get punished if you do it, and that could be the least of your concerns if something bad happens, fair to say.
Absolutely. Back in 2012, under Governor Branstad, Caden's Law was passed. It was after a young girl named Caden Halverson was struck by a car and killed, I believe as well, getting off a school bus over in Cerro Gordo County. Obviously an unthinkable incident to happen, and so way stiffer penalties were put into place back then. As you said, I hate to focus on penalties too much because that's the least of the concerns. It's when we have an injured child or an injured anybody, we can't bring it back no matter what the penalties are, no matter how severely somebody's punished, we can't bring a life back. But with that said, just to touch on the penalties so people are aware, it is even for a first offense, it's a very steep fine. I was looking here off some old literature, and I think I think the fines are outdated now on this. I think it's up to like a $375 fine for the first offense of a school bus violation. And what two more things that go along with that a lot of people don't realize is you could be put in jail for up to 30 days. And almost always, which frankly, we don't see that very often. But what we do see almost every time with a school bus violation is that there's a 30-day license revocation for a first offense. That's the part that people don't necessarily understand. It's a 30-day license revocation that can be a real problematic for a family. It needs to get kids to daycare, needs to get kids to school, parents need to get to work. That can really hit hard. And so I do want to make it clear that Iowa takes it very seriously, as they should, for school bus violations. And it's a big deal. It's not only just a steep fine, it's also a license revocation. So to hit on some of the basics of what to look for is, and it says right on the back of every school bus, and every school bus is yellow, pretty universal looking. So by now, I think most people know what the universal school bus looks like. But when you're approaching a school bus from the rear, you can't pass if there are any lights flashing at all. If there are any lights, even if it's the amber lights, even if there's no stop arm out and there's only amber lights flashing, you cannot pass from the rear of that school bus. You have to slow your speed to 20 miles an hour or less and stop within 15 feet of that school bus. If you're approaching from the front side of the school bus and only the ambers are on, I would suggest you be very ready to stop if those red lights come on and the stop arm comes out. However, even if only the amber lights are flashing, it shouldn't be hard to stop if those lights come on. The idea of those amber lights flashing from the front of the school bus is to make you aware you may need to stop at any moment. Therefore, the law on that reads, you have to slow your speed to at least 20 miles an hour or less when the amber lights are on, and be prepared to stop at any given moment or time if the red lights come on and the stop arm comes out. In a nutshell, if you see a bus, slow down and be prepared to stop under any and all circumstances, regardless of what the law says, regardless of what lights are flashing and what lights aren't. Every one of us knows how we would feel if we had an accident in those circumstances. That's not a situation any human being wants to be in, nor do we want to put any family in that situation.
And also, I think in the big picture, a lot of this conversation gets to down to allowing yourself some extra time to get to work, get your kids to school, get your kids to the bus stop, etc. Because I remember touching on this, full disclosure, I had to go to a driver improvement class about 20 years ago. And if you were late for that class, you got booted out of class. And the bottom line is, if you allow yourself enough time, you don't feel rushed. You don't feel that stress of maybe having to try something that you shouldn't.
Absolutely. It comes down to personal responsibility and managing your time and managing what you have to do that day. And then keeping the big picture in mind that, give yourself plenty of time. Wait to make those phone calls until you get to where you're going. Wait to check that text message until you get to where you're going. Being aware of your surroundings. But with that said, any of us, myself included, we've all found ourselves running behind. That's reality. I am certainly not immune to that. I've been running behind enough times, so it's easy for me to sit and tell everybody else, manage your time a little better when I'm living in a glass house. I've certainly been there. But at that point, when you are running behind, still keep the big picture in mind. Stop and think to yourself, would I rather come into a meeting late and have everybody safe, or risk the tragedy that could happen on the other side if I push it just a little harder than I should? Would you rather have to try to explain to your boss why you're late, or would you rather have to be explaining why a tragedy occurred when you went around a school bus, or you were unable to stop in the amount of time, or you just didn't see him stopped because you were distracted? All of us know the answer to that. It's of course a rhetorical question. I'm not, I just ask that people stop and really think about what's most important right now. A training I took a while back, it said it was a safety training. And rather than talking about all the safety things you can do, the key point of the training was keeping in mind what is most important right now at this moment. If we keep those things in mind, moment by moment throughout our day, we're naturally going to be more safe. So even when you're running behind and you think I can just go a little faster, what could go wrong? You know, naturally it comes with the school year. You could hit an icy patch on the road. Maybe it's not you. Maybe another driver pulls out in front of you. Maybe it wasn't your driving. Maybe it was somebody else's driving. Nonetheless, had you had your vehicle slowed to a reasonable and safe speed, most of these things could be prevented. Now you throw school buses and young drivers and young pedestrians into the mix, and there's just no excuse to push it in those circumstances. No, even the people that are making poor decisions aren't doing it for the sake of hurting people. They're the tragedy that occurs subsequent to it that they didn't want to have happen. They just had a hard time keeping in mind what was most important right now.
And the issue of distracted driving has always been around. I mean, it was around when you and I were growing up, but now we all have phones, and that issue has become more important. Of course, we worry about young people and inexperienced drivers using their phones, but frankly, us as adults, we need to improve on that end of things as well. Speaking of the glass house analogy that you just made, what do people need to keep in mind when it comes to distracted driving, whether it be other people in the car, whether it be tuning the air conditioner, the heater, or the radio, or just using their phones in general?
Yeah, I think all of the above. And I think the key point that you hit on there, Darren, is, you know, we can sit and talk to the young people all day long, but I think rather than pointing the finger at them and what they're doing, I think one of the key points in everything you just said, and it's in all of the above, let's set an example to the young people. Yeah. They're going to drive how they see us driving. If they see mom or dad fudging it just a little bit, if they see mom or dad just quick checking that text message, if they see mom or dad just quick doing you fill in the blank, that naturally tells them it must not be that bad. Do as I say, not as I do. And we've all been there, and I'm guilty. I'm a parent. I'm certainly guilty of that. So I'm not going to confess too much here, but looking back, we can all do better. I'm not preaching to anyone. I'm talking to myself. We can all do better in everything we do to be a better example to those people watching us, and especially the young people watching us. We can all do better to set a positive example. If we want them to listen to what we say, then we have to follow through with what we say in what we do. And I think we'll be much more credible. But we're sending mixed messages to our young people when we're telling them not to do something, and then we turn around and do exactly what we just told them not to do. So I think as far as adults, that's, and like I said, I'm certainly putting myself in this category. There's plenty of blame to go around, and that's the guy that's doing the talking right now included.
And myself included as well. So we'll both be in that same category. Anything we're missing, anything else you want to pass on to the public about school safety, or anything else from the Sheriff's Department perspective?
Yeah, just, you know, as far as school starting, we have multiple schools here in Winneshiek County. We have them spread throughout the county. So even if you think you're out of Decorah ways, you're out of Kelmer ways, or you're out of Jackson Junction, we have schools throughout the county, gravel roads included. Just please think beyond just the school zones. Think everywhere. We have kids coming from all different places, and with the new hybrid models that schools are doing these days, you know, it's not just one time a day. We have kids coming and going from school all the time, especially, you know, when you start getting up into that senior. I have a son who's going to be a senior this year, and things have changed since we were in school, Darren. I look at the schedule, and I mean, it's very efficient, and I'm not saying it's bad. It's just very different. It's very different than the era, and I'm not trying to age either one of us here, but than the era that we went to school. The model is very different, and I think it's improved in multiple ways. I want to be very clear. I'm not saying anything bad. It's very different than what I've been used to. So I would say, slow down, be an example, constantly remind yourself, young people are watching and they're going to get their habits from your habits. And, keep in mind what's most important right now. And let's avoid a tragedy. Let's have a good school year. Let's be safe together. And if anybody would have any questions at any time, feel free to call the sheriff's office, call myself directly. You can call me. Happy to answer any questions. If people are seeing an area where they think safety is being compromised, let the sheriff's office know. We'll put some extra attention to that area and see if we can curb the issue. As I say all the time, we're not in the business of seeing how many tickets we can write. We just want to correct the issue so there isn't a problem. If we can solve that through a conversation or something along those lines, we would love to do that. So never hesitate to call the sheriff's office. It doesn't mean somebody's going to get in trouble. We're just going to try to prevent a bad situation from happening.
Dan, we appreciate you taking some time to talk about a very important issue. It's always in the back of our minds, but from time to time, we need to put it to the front of our minds. And with school starting next week, it's a perfect time to do so. We appreciate you and everybody at the sheriff's office and all they do to serve the people of Winneshiek County. Thanks for the time, as always.
Hey, thank you, Darren. Appreciate it.
Winneshiek County Sheriff Dan Marx joining us here on Our Town. For the first time in nearly a half century, the Decorah girls tennis program will have a new head coach in 2022-2023 as Larry Berland has decided to retire after 47 years of leading the program, and he joins us this morning. And Coach B, you've coached for 47 years. You look like you're 50 years old. What was it like teaching and coaching at age 3?
Oh, I tell you what, I've been the luckiest guy alive. I'll tell you that, Darren. I just had such great cooperation and good people to work with, and I'm going to miss it big time. But it's been a dream come true for me.
Talk about your decision to step away from it. It's been a big part of your life for these all these years. What made this the right time to do it for you?
Well, I told my wife, I said that, Vicki, that when it came down to where the grandkids were starting to do their thing, we're getting old enough to compete in different things. And I was going to seriously think about stopping as far as a coach. And then also I wanted to make sure that there was someone that would be maybe in the wings that would take the program and stick with it, because I didn't want to just leave it go and have it kind of wander around. So that was really it. And then of course my wife, I need to spend more time with her. She's been my biggest supporter. I just need to spend some more time with her and enjoy the grandkids.
Looking back to the start of Decorah girls tennis, which would have happened about 1975, how did tennis come to be at Decorah? How did you become a part of it?
Well, actually the program began, I believe, as far as I can tell, in about 1969 or somewhere in there. They had a couple of competitors that went down to the state tournament. One was Jan Barr, I think was our first one that went to state, and she was the only one. And then they said, well, let's go ahead and have kind of a team. And it was kind of a hit and miss type of thing, I think, to begin with. And when I came here in 1973 as a teacher, Roz Kratz was also hired as a teacher that same year. And she then was given the task of being the girls tennis coach. And of course, back then it was part of your contract. If you signed a contract to teach, you also took on whatever else they wanted you to do. And so anyway, she stuck with it for a couple of years, and then she just kind of didn't want to do it anymore. And I was afraid that the program was going to go away. I mean, there was nobody stepping up. And that's when I went down and met with Wayne Burns and Superintendent Wayne Burns, and he opened up the door for me. I mean, I said, I'd be interested. And he said, have you ever played? And I said, yeah. And he said, you're hired.
Pretty in-depth job interview.
That was a pretty easy interview. That's right, Darren.
So what made you interested in basically continuing that program, making sure it didn't go away? What made you interested in making sure the young women still got the opportunity to play tennis? Well,
I'll tell you what, coaching in Decorah is a really a dream job. You got such great cooperation. You got good support. Administration's behind you. And, I kind of fell in love with the sport. I mean, I just really enjoyed it. And it was a great sport for the young ladies to play. I mean, you helped out a few years with the boys team, and you know that it's a great sport for those athletes that maybe aren't really into running a lot, or they're not really physical type players, but there's something where they would like to have a sport that they're competing in where it's finesse and they still get to compete. They still get to have some success and have some fun with it. And so I couldn't give that up, Darren. I mean, it just gets in your blood. And, it's so fun to see people, young ladies in my case, do things that I don't think they thought they could do.
And I know over the last year, and it's definitely been something well worth celebrating. There's been a lot of talk about the 50-year anniversary of the Title IX legislation, which allowed equal opportunity through education. A lot of that was through sports. And I think one of the things you can really appreciate about the state of Iowa, you mentioned really Decorah's first tennis qualifier was in the late 60s. You look back over a half century, the opportunities that young women got in the state of Iowa, even prior to the Title IX legislation. I mean, 6-on-6 basketball started in the 1920s. And I think perhaps that's something we don't talk about enough and maybe don't appreciate enough in the historical context in the state of Iowa, knowing the fact that, Iowa gave young women the opportunity to compete, and it didn't need federal legislation to do so. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I came from Minnesota, and our girls that were in my class, for instance, in 1969, I graduated. Up until that point in time, it was GRA, Girls Recreational Association, or a cheerleader. And that was pretty much it. There wasn't anything else available because girls in Minnesota didn't play basketball. And as unlike Iowa, where they had a really a big time program going with that 6-on-6. So the opportunity for the young ladies was there. And I wanted to make sure that they understood that if you're going to be out for tennis, as far as I'm concerned, you're not going to be girl tennis players. You're going to be tennis players that happen to be girls.
And you look back at the development of the game of tennis, and I know you've been involved at the state level in doing your best to grow the game of tennis in the state of Iowa. How has the sport evolved at the high school level? How has it changed? In what ways is it different here in 2022 as compared to 1975? In what ways is it the same?
Oh, that's a great question, Darren. I tell you what, back the first year I started, everything was one class, of course, and all 130 teams at that point in time were playing tennis, and it was all one big deal. And we were really kind of up against it when we came up against the big school programs that had indoor facilities. And that indoor facilities is a huge factor for tennis. It was certainly put to play task last spring with the weather that we had. Where you just didn't have time or a chance to practice outside. And so if you didn't have indoor backup, you were really kind of up the creek. So a lot more schools have that now, indoor backup. It's been classified so that you have the top 48 teams population-wise are in one class, and then the rest of us are kind of thrown into the other class, which is great. And the competition, they've done a much better job. The State of Iowa Girls Union, I have to applaud them for what they've done to equalize the sport and with other sports so that we have the same opportunities that, for instance, cross country or track or basketball have. We at one time only had a Final Four. So you either finished in the top four, or you didn't go to state. And now they run it the same way they do with other sports, where you can qualify for state if you're in the top 8 teams at the end of the year. And that made a big difference.
And one of the things that some people, I'm sure, do remember, others may not, I believe the year was 2008, through a lot of work with this community, a lot of your leadership as well. You had a state girls tennis meet in Decorah, Iowa. I know golf's been in Decorah as well, and it's one of those sports that can travel around pretty easily. But did you ever imagine that you would get to host a state event in Decorah?
No, I didn't. And when I applied for it, they were trying to get it to move around a little bit. They didn't want to go to the same place every year. And I said, well, we can host it up there. And they came up and took a look at the facilities at Luther. And again, Luther College was the key there. They were able to come up with the facilities necessary on outside and indoor courts. And we were able to go ahead and the only problem that we had is that it rained like a son of a gun that first day. So we had to go indoor, which is never fun, of course. But then by the afternoon, we got ourselves out and had a good tournament. The thing is, the town was unbelievably supportive. I mean, I had so many different people help out, and I believe including yourself. And, these things really, everybody got together and we just had a great time with it. Had a nice little banquet for them at the end of the day, the first day. And they've never done that again in the States. So we have a one-up on everybody. It was a real highlight, a real high point for our program.
I'm going to ask you probably an unfair question. Just looking at the competition and the on the court end of things, what are some of your top memories over these last 47 years? I know that's probably impossible to cut down, but I'm going to ask you the question because I'm not a fair person.
Well, thank you, Darren. I tell you that the most, probably the first memory I had is the first year I coached. I had about, I have 40 girls out, I think. And we had only 2 courts at that point in time. The city courts were only 2 courts down there. And I got such bad tennis elbow because I was just throwing the ball to them, so that they could hit it. And I didn't know what I was doing. I'll be real honest with you. And the girls were so good about it. And from there, I had Ann Juergens, who had been helping Roz Kratz, and she was very fundamental in helping me kind of get the program off its feet and get going. That's the best memory I have about the early days. And then as the girls, we kept progressing, and we had to play Clear Lake. Clear Lake was a huge competitor at that point in time. They had a streak of 48 dual meets in a row that they had won, and we defeated them here in Decorah 5-4. And it came down to the number 3 doubles, and it was Ann Finger and I'm trying to think here, Stort's girl that ended up winning that match. And that was kind of a turning point for our program, because from that point on, we started to win these close matches against top competition. And I think 1994 was a huge year for us, because that year they classified tennis, and Waterloo Columbus decided to go to the big school and stay in the big school. And we just walked right through that door and won the state title down at Waterloo. And boy, that was a fun deal. And then, of course, around 2000, we had about 3 state titles in a row. Beautiful young gals from Thailand that came to join us in the program, and really made a difference for us. And the Waterloo coach always would call them Honeckers, but the Hinkers, were very instrumental. We had several good matches with them, and Christophers. I mean, there's a whole list. I'm going to leave names out, but I tell you what, it's just been a great grow. And, and the success that I've had is all owed to the girls' willingness to do the sport. And number 2, to the tremendous coaching staff that assistants that I've had over the years to help me out. So I really appreciate that. And the last one would be Adam Riley has done a super job here as athletic director, activities director, of supporting the sport. And really, we've made some inroads. Like, for instance, we now have a conference, which is huge for the program. There's a lot of good memories out there. I feel badly I can't remember or mention all of them.
And I know with Decorah tennis, it really hasn't been a Decorah girls tennis or Decorah boys tennis. It's kind of been an overall program philosophy that you guys have had over the years. That doesn't happen in every sport, and that doesn't happen in every community. What do you credit that to, and who are some of the people involved in making that a reality?
Well, Darren, that's another great question, and I'm proud to answer that, because I felt very strongly that if we have to share the court facilities, because both boys and girls tennis in Iowa are in the same season in the spring, and unlike other programs which are split between either the fall or the spring. And so we have to make the best use of the facilities. And I'll be real honest with you. The guys help the girls. I mean, the guys hit the ball harder, let's face it, and they're a lot more competitive at times. And so that's really good for the girls. But the other thing is the girls keep the ball alive and force those guys to have to play the game. I mean, they can't just come out and hit the ball once and be done. They have to fight for their place. And so I talked to the coaches. I said, hey, we can't fight amongst the space and everything. We need to share the space. And we've done a tremendous job. Started probably the most with Ron Gesme when he was coaching there for about 12 years here in Decorah. And we had Decorah tennis. I mean, we planned our practices where we'd have time to play one another. And we've kind of come up with a program on Wednesday nights. We still do it. When Reg Laursen was the coach, now Matt Anderson's taken over. And Wednesday nights, what we do is we actually have a competitive time where the girls and boys are all put together. 2 girls and 2 boys are a team, and they go out and they rotate on courts and they play drills and all kinds of different things and have a good night of it. And they look forward to that co-ed night. They like that a lot. So again, that really made our program stronger there, and I feel very, very much so. And I have to credit the other coaches for buying in, shall we say, and being willing to do it.
And of course, it's been a community effort regarding tennis. And with that community effort, Luther College has been a part of that, because if you only had to rely on the city courts, you probably couldn't host a regional or any sort of state events. Who are some of the people at Luther that got on board to help the game of tennis grow in Decorah?
Well, when we first came here, of course, Sue Ortel and was a legend in the women's tennis. I mean, obviously she won a lot of conference titles up there at Luther, and she was very cooperative. She was willing to help me. She even came down and talked to the girls, showed them some different things a few times when I was learning, and that really helped us kind of get started. And you just can't say enough good things about her. And then there's another guy that was not too bad a tennis coach either, and his name was Rich Leak, who had tremendous success up at Luther, and again, very cooperative. He still comes to our meets. He's still willing to help the girls. Can't say enough good things about those 2 people. And now, you know what? We've got another young man here. Adam Strand has taken kind of the same. He's really helpful last year, especially with the weather the way it was. We were scrambling when we could to get some court space, and he made accommodations for us, which I can't say enough good things about. We didn't get to use the indoor because of the COVID deal, but the outside courts were there for us. And there was another young man that's now going to be a golf coach, believe it or not. His name is Brian Hinker, who was also coaching up there for a lot of years. And boy, I tell you what, he was very cooperative, really helped us out, was willing to help us out. And of course, he was on state tournament championship teams here in Decorah. His sisters were as well. So, he was willing to step in and help out a lot. So Luther College, I couldn't have done this without it. I mean, without them helping me out. That was for sure.
Hinker or Honecker?
Well, it depends if you're down at Waterloo or not. If it's down at Waterloo, it's Honecker. So the problem is for him, Mr. Coach Will, who's a great guy, a great coach, but for Columbus, he's going to have to deal with it again because there's more Honeckers coming through the pipeline now. So hopefully we'll get to that level.
You retired from teaching in, I believe, 2006, and you kept going with the coaching end of things. What kept you going when you weren't in the classroom every day?
Well, I love being around young people. I mean, I just really enjoyed teaching and being around them. I have a lot of fun with them, and that's what's keeping me in the substitute role. And also I do a Envirathon. I'm coaching the 8th grade girls basketball again this year. And I just enjoy being around them. They got a lot of energy and they keep you going, and it gives you some kind of a sense of responsibility, Darren. You've got something that you have to do. And I think as you mature, and I'll say that instead of getting older, as you mature, you find out that it'd be awfully easy to kind of just sit down and kind of let the world go by. And I'm not willing to do that yet. I'm still too much involved with a lot of different things. Still like to do a lot of recycling, of course, and I got a lot of cooperation there. So it's just a great life, Darren. I mean, you ought to have been a teacher. I mean, you'd have been a great teacher.
Well, I appreciate that. I will say on that end of things, having you in 9th grade physical science back in the day, probably wasn't your top student, but I would have to say I probably wasn't as dedicated to academics as I should have been, but I learned a lot from you after I left your classroom as compared to probably in the classroom when I should have learned a lot from you.
Well, there's a lot of distractions, Darren, when you're a ninth grader. I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
a lot of distractions. So I accept that. That's not a problem.
And just looking back, obviously you've been around young people for a long time from an educational perspective, a coaching perspective, and just now from a parent and a grandparent perspective. How have young people changed? How are they the same?
There's a lot more distraction. Speaking of distractions, there's a lot more distraction for them now. Electronics has entered the field, and I tell you, the electronics are a wonderful thing. I mean, let's face it. I use them all the time myself. This is an example right here, Darren. I mean, when would you have ever thought in ninth grade science that we'd ever be Zooming like this in the morning, So there's a lot of perks. And as a result, it takes a lot of time away from these young people to kind of get out and do things. And that's the thing that I've noticed more is that kids aren't doing as many outdoor activities. They're not doing as many group activities maybe as they had been doing in the past, looking for something to do. I remember when my boys were little, they played pickleball. Or it's not pickleball, but wiffle ball all summer. I mean, geez, they were playing wiffle ball pretty much every day of their lives. And I didn't hear of one wiffle ball game this year. Maybe there were some, but I didn't hear of any. Or they go down and shoot baskets with a bunch of guys, or girls would go roller skating as a group and stuff like that. I mean, that kind of thing has changed a bit. As far as the young people go, I think that this group of girls and boys that are coming through right now, Darren, they understand the situation in our world and know that they're going to have to step up. My generation didn't do a real good job with it. I hate to say that, and I don't know about your generation, but I think they probably were a bit lax at times too. But these young people that are now, they're conscious. They know what's going on. They know what's happening out there, and I think they're willing to step in. So I think the future looks pretty good.
I know you've coached basketball as well for at the underneath levels for quite some time, boys and girls end of things. You've led the Envirothon program at Decorah to heights that a lot of schools in the state haven't reached on that end of things. Are you planning to continue with both?
I have to, Darren. I can't give this up yet. That's one of the things I told Vicki. I said, I'm not just going to go and crawl in a hole someplace. I said, I'm going to keep going. And again, like I said, I really enjoy the subbing. I've already got 1-day sub jobs lined up this fall. And then the Envirothon has been just a huge deal. 50 kids plus that were willing to, to spend time. It's all free time. I mean, it's their time. And it's hard to schedule, but boy, I tell you what, I've got some wonderful young people that I'm looking forward to being around again this year.
And looking at your career, obviously you raised 3 very good young men with Greg and Paul and Adam. And of course, Vicki has been very supportive of you. I remember every year we'd finish our basketball season on the radio. I'd always thank Vicki for letting you come out and play year in and year out. How important has that family support been, knowing the fact that you were involved in a lot of things and touching a lot of young people's lives, but again, you had the 4 people that were living under your roof. You were there, they were your number one fan, and vice versa. How'd you balance that all? Well,
it was difficult, Darren. And if I look back, I know that I missed opportunities that I could have spent with them more, as far as especially in the spring when tennis was going on, because tennis was it ate you up. With weekend meets and a lot of time consideration. At one point in time, I was doing 3 shifts at night, and I didn't get home till after 7 each night. So I didn't get to eat meals with them, and I didn't get to go to some of their activities and things of that nature. So they were very, very supportive in allowing me to do that. And I can't say enough good things about Vicki being there to hold the whole thing together. I look back and I think, it could have been, but I can't do anything about that. That's why I want to spend more time with the grandkids now, because they grow up so doggone fast.
Yeah, they definitely do. Any final words as you put your tennis coaching career in perspective? What's the main things that you're going to take away from the experience, and what is the main thing that you hope the young people took away from the experience of playing Decorah girls tennis?
Well, Darren, again, another great question. There's a lot that I could say there, but I think the number one thing I'm going to say first is I cannot say enough about the support that I've been given, that people have trusted me to go ahead and do the right things with their, with their young ladies in tennis, and see if we can get them to be at a higher plateau of success when it's all done. And again, I'm not talking about necessarily tennis success, but just believing in themselves, having some success, and having some fun doing it, and being with people that are kind of sharing that same goal. The other thing too that I think is very, very important here is that the winning and losing isn't the thing that we're after here. We're not after the winning and losing. Yes, it's nice to win. It's nice if you can pull something off, but it's about the idea of getting more confidence in yourself, and actually performing under pressure. And that's something you're going to have to do as you move on into life. I mean, you know that there's some pressure out there for when you got a job and you got something you got to do, you got responsibility. And that's basically what I'm after. And when I was coaching. So I've just had an incredible go here. I'm going to miss the heck out of it. But you know what? In the same token, there's going to be somebody else that's going to step up and do just as good a job and better job than I did. And that's the nice thing about it.
Larry, we appreciate you taking some time to talk about your career this morning. I want to thank you for working with me on basketball games for 20 years. And I'll just frankly say it, Larry didn't get paid a heck of a lot to do it, but he was very loyal to me, and we had a lot of fun calling basketball games, and we had more fun with our enlightening and engaging conversations through the highways and byways of Northeast Iowa. Most importantly, we thank you for what you have done and what you will continue to do for the kids of Decorah. And there's frankly, I mean, there's few people I can think of that has dedicated their lives to the young people of Decorah more than you, my friend. And the community owes you a thank you for that. And now you can do a few more things on your schedule, and that's going to be the cool thing.
Yep, you're right, Darren. Again, thank you. That was very kind of you to say those words for me. But, you know, I enjoyed the heck out of the basketball. Again, like you said, we solved every problem that the world had on the way to and from those games. If they'd only.
But we never wrote them down, so we didn't.
Yeah, that's right. We should have recorded it. We could have been, who knows where by now, probably in prison. I don't know. But the point is that, you know, it's been just a great go. Gosh, it's going to be different, but you know what? I'm kind of looking forward to maybe having a spring in that many years. I don't know if I really remember what they're like. So it'll be kind of fun to be able to do that. So again, thank the people that I've had an opportunity to be around. They've been so good to me. And so thanks for this too, Darren. I really appreciate it.
Larry Berland retiring after 47 years of coaching Decorah girls tennis. Thank you to our guest on the program this morning, Blake Moen with the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department, Don Koshatka previewing Czech days in Protivin this weekend, Winneshiek County Sheriff Dan Marx with some reminders regarding school safety as school gets underway next week, and Decorah girls tennis coach Larry Berland retiring after 47 years. Don't forget, we put these shows on YouTube each and every week. You can go to any of the LA Communications radio station Facebook pages. We'll link the show at that location. You can also find it by just searching YouTube 8/18 Our Town program. You can find it that way. Thanks to our guest, or thanks to our sponsor, Decorah Bank and Trust. And most importantly, we thank you. That's right, you, for tuning in, for logging on, or for watching Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River.